Now it's time for Lefties Losing It, and let's check in with CNN. They're trying hard to cope with the reality that the man they and the left has branded as some sort of modern-day Hitler is actually hugely popular in the only Jewish state. There are thank you messages on the beaches of Tel Aviv. There are thank you messages in the leading newspapers of Israel. The nation, its people, are grateful to a leader who has brought their hostages home and brought peace to the region. They're wearing Trump hats in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, hats that say Trump the peace president. And CNN had to acknowledge that there were plenty of MAGA caps being worn in Hostage Square.
And, of course, endless applause for President Trump. Endless applause for President Trump.
And when I was there, I even saw people wearing Make America Great Again hats in that crowd over at Hostage Square.
But yet, despite all that, despite the fact that world leaders were jumping on planes within minutes of notice to be in the Middle East for this announcement, CNN anchor Jake Tapper, you know, the dude who noticed Joe Biden's cognitive decline only after he stopped being the Democrat candidate. Well, yes, Jake tries to downplay the enormity of this peace deal.
Obviously, blessed are the peacemakers indeed, but it is worth pointing out this is a ceasefire deal, right? This is not a larger peace deal about a Palestinian state of any sort and who gets to rule a Palestinian state and Israel gets security guarantees, how, and all that. That is still TBD, right?
I mean, yes, but, because the yes, but part of that is that, yes, this is the first phase of this deal where the two key parts of that was a ceasefire and the release of the hostages and also the release of Palestinian prisoners.
Just pathetic work there from Jake Tapper, but not surprising. And let's stick with CNN. They have another anchor here, Christian Amanpour, having to issue an apology for insensitive comments suggesting the hostages, the Israeli hostages, were treated better than Gazans.
But I regret also saying that they might have been treated better than many Gazans because Hamas used these hostages as pawns and bargaining chips. But that was insensitive and it was wrong. From speaking to many former hostages and their families, like everyone, I've been horrified at what Hamas has subjected them to.
Yes, it was insensitive and wrong, CNN. Also wrong was not to keep this deranged Democrat accountable. Here is Jason Crow refusing to give any credit to Donald Trump for the peace deal.
How much credit does President Trump deserve for this remarkable agreement?
Well, this does need to end the terrible, terrible tragedy we've seen the last couple of years. It's been awful. I don't trust Donald Trump. There's no reason to trust Donald Trump. But I will, of course, work with any administration that wants to achieve those things.
Oh, those Democrats are so bitter and petty, aren't they? And so are many of the journalists. And is it any wonder that Donald Trump is telling them precisely what he thinks of them and their activism masquerading as impartial news reporting? Here he is with a rather polite takedown of a Politico reporter.
Are you considering walking that back?
Who are you with?
Politico, Dasha Burns, sir.
Dasha, Politico. Politico's gone bad. They've been so wrong about everything. Politico, Politico has been so wrong about everything. Let's get somebody else to ask some questions. Do you mind? Is that all right? Because Politico is fake news.
Now, one has to wonder whether this incredible achievement by Donald Trump will lead to a cure for TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. Here is TDS sufferer and pretend token conservative on The View, Elisa Farah. She promised to wear a MAGA cap on the show, on The View, if Trump got the hostages out. Remember this?
My point when I say I'm not going to be apocalyptic, it's not changing a tune. It's not making every single thing a 5-alarm fire. Yeah. If he does good, if he gets the Israeli hostages out, I promise I will wear a MAGA hat for one day on the show and say, thank you for doing it. Yeah. She'll knock it right off my head.
Well, she lied. She didn't wear the cap. We had someone check. Are we surprised? I'm not. Now, before we move on to more cases of incurable TDS, let's check in with what is happening in Virginia. Now, there is something wrong, terribly wrong, with the modern Democrat woman. It's not just the squad. There are so many exhibiting signs of lunacy, signs of hysteria and indecency, unable to call out the most reprehensible of behaviours. Watch Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl-Sears. She's the Republican candidate for governor. She questions Abigail Spanberger about why she hasn't asked Jay Jones, the Democrat nominee for Attorney General, to step down after his vile behaviour was exposed. Now, watch this. It's quite chilling.
That's why I'm wondering why my opponent won't say beyond it's abhorrent and disgusting, why she won't say it is not okay and that he must leave the race because Jay Jones advocated the murder, Abigail, the murder of a man, a former speaker, as well as his children who were 2 and 5 years old. You have little girls. What would it take him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail, what if he said it about your 3 children? Is that when you would say he should get out of the race, Abigail? You're running to be governor.
She just stood there with a grin on her face, a smirk. If that isn't disqualifying, then I don't know what is. If Virginia votes for that, if leftists want to stand behind that woman instead of Winsome Earl-Sears, then they deserve everything they get. Now, let's get back to examining whether TDS, even some of the worst cases of TDS, can be cured. I'm not convinced, but I've got to say Bill Maher gives me a little bit of hope. He suffered from a severe case for years. Yes, Bill Maher, despite being occasionally sensible, suffered from stage 4 TDS and did everything in his power to ensure Donald Trump would not be re-elected. He was right there with loony Robert De Niro spewing absolute craziness.
If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship, which is what he says. Let's believe him. Take him at his word.
I did from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I said from the very beginning, this guy is never going to concede power, and he still hasn't.
No.
He still hasn't. He just admitted he lost the last election, and he advertises that he will go on.
But Bill Maher's had a recovery, somewhat of a recovery that was turbocharged when Kid Rock organised a dinner with the president. Now he is singing his praises and trying to make other TDS sufferers see sense. Here he is with Hollywood actor William H. Macy.
You cannot ever deny success. You just have to give your respect, even if it's not your thing. Have the humility to give it up for enormous success on any level.
I agree.
Trump, not my choice, didn't vote for him, but somehow,
a lot of people did.
And he's... I can't deny the success.
I can't either.
Yeah.
Yes, he is the President, William H. Macy, and you've certainly come a long way from the days when you were having little tantrums about Donald Trump, telling anyone who would listen how much you loathe the president. You even used your Screen Actors Guild Award to smash Trump. Goodness me, we'd have come a long way.
When I went to the White House, these are all the horrible things he's called me over the years.
Did you give him that and he signed it for you?
Correct.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I know. It's my prized possession.
What a signature. That's one of the best signatures of
stupid, angry, dopey.
Now to one of the worst TDS cases ever. This man has completely trashed his own reputation. That's Sam Harris. Even he was eating humble pie this week.
Trump got a deal done. And that's something I don't believe you believe would have happened under a President Harris.
It pains me somewhat to admit this, but yes, he's certainly been good for the Middle East and for Israel in a way that I don't think there was any reason to expect Harris to be good. And Biden certainly wasn't good, apart from the first few weeks after October 7th, or maybe a couple of months after October 7th.
Yes, Sam Harris eating humble pie is a joyous moment, but he's still fully afflicted with TDS. I mean, it wasn't long ago when he was saying crazy stuff like this. Of all the conspiracy theories, he latched onto this one.
I mean, this just could be based on a faulty intuition about ballistics, but I'm surprised that a rifle round making any degree of contact with an ear wouldn't do more damage. I think a shattered piece of shrapnel from a teleprompter is far more likely to have done that to his ear than a rifle round.
That's so silly.
I would have used stronger words than silly, but it's far from the dumbest or craziest thing that Sam Harris has said about Donald Trump. Remember this rant?
At that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared, right? It's like there's nothing. First of all, it's Hunter Biden, right? It's not Joe Biden. But even if whatever scope of Joe Biden's corruption is, like if we could just go down that rabbit hole endlessly and understand that he's getting kickbacks from Hunter Biden's deals in Ukraine or wherever else, right, or China, it is infinitesimal compared to the corruption we know Trump is involved in. It's like a firefly to the sun.
Just utterly unhinged, and you saw Konstantin kissing at the end of that clip. I wonder if he was thinking of Sam Harris when he posted this yesterday. He wrote, "It's time for people with Trump Derangement Syndrome to admit they were wrong. Sam Harris may be too far gone. He is, after all, too broken with TDS. He's gone from an intellectual to a caricature, a dumb person's idea of a smart person. But there is hope for others, including actress Frances Barber, who posted this on X. She said, "I had TDS and I'm now eating my words." Bravo, Frances. Well, thank God for that. A woman who most certainly does not have TDS is the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize winner, Maria Corina Machado. Now, we all know why Trump didn't get the award. It had nothing to do with deadlines. He should have got it in his first term for the Abraham Accords. But this year's winner dedicated the award to the president. This is a gracious woman. Hopefully, she'll be the next president of Venezuela.
And they decided to dedicate it to President Trump because he deserves it. Because not only has he been involved in only a few months in solving 8 wars, but his actions have been decisive to have Venezuela now at a threshold of freedom after 26 years of tyranny.